Well, it's hard to believe that we're watching another country wage war again. While we feel sorrow for the people whose lives has suddenly been turned upside down, and then we start to feel some fear for the global economic ripples that will follow this fighting. And then I think we feel a little bit of guilt that there's so little that we can do from where we are. And again, it feels like our emotions are on a roller coaster ride. One moment reveling in a beautiful day, and the next fighting off that panic that there's so much that feels out of control. Just keeping it together, getting by feels like a daily battle. As everyday fear-inducing headlines leave us feeling, well, sad or angry or hopeless or some mixture of all of those. For life is just complex and confusing. And because of that, we come together and we read scriptures in the hopes of finding comfort and finding wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in our scriptures today. We read from the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew, and this small passage describes the heart of who we are because it's the heart of who God is. And the words are not new, were not new when Jesus spoke them. They echo the Psalms and the Proverbs. In the Old Testament, we've heard the words blessed are and happy are and honored are, respected. The words that Israel's poets used to commend the good traditional attitudes and actions of their people. Psalm opens with, happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked or sit in the seat of the scoffers, but their delight is in the law of the Lord. And in Proverbs, happy are those who find wisdom and who get understanding. And so Jesus uses the same form, but then these beatitudes that we hear come from his mouth will have a paradoxical twist to them. For the things that he calls blessed are things, well, we don't normally associate with being happy or successful. Blessed are the poor in spirit, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted, and blessed are the meek. They are the ones who will inherit the earth. In our world, we think of someone who is blessed, and then we assume happy. We think of someone who is wealthy and powerful or famous and successful or beautiful or some group of those things. But Jesus knew that the people who were listening to his words were not all of those things. Not the power brokers, not the 1%, not the beautiful celebrities. His crowd was made up of people who were, well, considered dishonorable or unhappy and searching and hungry, trying to be hopeful when life seemed to defy every effort they made at happiness. And we need to hear him again today. These words are for us. Those of us who feel poor in spirit because we know that we are vulnerable and dependent on God. And we know we're going through these experiences where life seems out of control. We experience that mourning when we're unable to save those we love from illness or death or loss, and those times when we see others suffering and we don't know how to help and stop their pain. And then Jesus says, blessed are the meek. Well, meekness is how we respond to what is happening, not weak, not being passive. The meek are those who don't respond to our own pain by lashing out at others with vengeance, but is not surrendering to despair either. Instead, being meek is allowing ourselves to live with the pain, knowing we're not alone. God is with us, and we are in this together. And when we feel this and move in this direction, we hunger and thirst for righteousness. When we take that time to look at the cause of pain from different perspectives and from God's perspective, we see that life isn't fair. When we or those we love, they're taken advantage of. We want the world to be a better place. And that feels like hunger, right in the gut. We feel that pain and we long for the world to change. And that makes us more compassionate. So blessed are the merciful. We receive mercy and we give mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, and blessed are the peacemakers. These will be called the children of God. When we have felt that frustration of realizing that we're not in control, and yet we don't give up. We join with others struggling with their problems. We feel mercy for others, knowing that there are times we have received mercy when we needed it and guilt overwhelmed us. And all of these things we have been taught that are important, we realize are stripped away. When that is stripped away, we reach that place of being pure in heart, and we realize we are God's peacemakers. And then we join together in finding the best solutions that we can for everyone. And we are, without thinking about it or choosing, we are the children of God, doing the work of God in God's world. So Jesus is not saying with these words, do these things, follow these rules. He's saying, when you do this, well, this is who you are. This is how you live when you are children of God. You are then blessed and honored, and surprisingly, maybe you find happiness in that. And this is who we hope to be as we come together. We come together as a congregation to help each other find this kind of happiness, to mourn together and to celebrate joys, to be merciful and be forgiving, and to receive that mercy when we need it, to share our hunger for justice, and together to be peacemakers in the world, to provide encouragement and guidance in this process. Here in this congregation, we have set aside deacons. We invite members of the congregation to commit themselves to taking extra time to care for this family of faith and for those we reach out to and those in the world. So today we are ordaining one new deacon who will become a part of our deacon board for the first time. Now, a little bit about deacons. The beginning of this office of deacons is found in the book of Acts in the New Testament, for there was a problem in that very first early church. They were trying to take care of one another and meet everyone's needs together. And it came about that some of the widows in the community were being left out of that daily distribution of food for those in need. So at that point, the apostles asked that church to pick out 7 people who would be appointed to make sure that the food was given out fairly. The first deacons were set aside by the church to serve tables. And the word deacon means servant. Servant is an attendant, a waiter, one who runs errands, one who does menial duties concerning the everyday needs of a community. They're the leaders who lead by serving. And Jesus kept saying over and over, this is the way that it should be, for the greatest to be the servants of all, for the first to be last. And this is the kind of leadership and the kind of service that we ask of our deacons. The service of a deacon, the expectations change in different churches and form, but it should include those things like ministering to the sick, caring for those who are grieving, building a sense of fellowship in the community, welcoming new members, and then administrating the ordinances of the church in worship. And deacons are peacemakers. Jesus calls us and teaches us by his example to transform the world, not from the top down, but from the bottom up. And that's what servant leadership does. In this congregation, deacons do what deacons were meant to do. They're not in charge of the building or the property. They don't oversee the finances of the congregation. They aren't a final decision-making body. Here the deacons serve the members of the congregation and those who walk with us and those we reach out to, seeking to live by faith. The way we understand it, deacons lead not in administration, but in caring for the people and for praying for individuals. Albert Schweitzer said, I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. This is what we seek in this community.